Over the past 200 years, we have increased the base level of carbon emissions in the atmosphere from about 300 parts per million to over 400 parts per million. Now, lots of people say that, look, the planet's been changing in carbon levels in the atmosphere for thousands of years. That's true. But prior to industrialization and based upon core samples from Antarctica, you can measure what the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere was. It was anywhere between 200 to 300 parts per million, and it would oscillate based upon the sampling that they've done almost a million years. But then you get to the industrial period and you see that climb up into the 400 parts per million territory. In the US, most of the population lives on the West Coast and East Coast. And so sea level rise in a city like Miami is impactful, right? There's lots of cities that have been built without a whole lot of thought towards what happens when we're impacted by climate. Think of Hurricane Sandy. Hurricane Sandy was a big wake up here in New York City. With the wind and the hurricane and the intensity, it drove a lot of problems in the operations and flooded a lot of properties that had never expected that the water would rise to those levels. I think environmental stewardship is just being cognizant about what your activity will do as far as impact to the environment. Whether it's farming, things that you would change in your farming techniques, or if you're in production of materials, are there different things you could look at in how you do your production? And then when you're in the building industry, what do you do with buildings as far as help lower their impact on the environment? We just have to figure out decarbonization, how to drive reduction back to levels that will prevent increased temperatures around the globe.